Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, your story won't be recorded. Why is it free of space? Go to videos. Let me just give me, I think it's, I don't know if we're live. Not yet. Just give me 1 second. Oh,
No
yes, we are
problem.
live, actually. We
Ah,
are live. I didn't
wonderful.
realize we were. Welcome, everyone. Yes, welcome. So let me just play a little introduction, and then we're waiting for others to come. I think I don't think it's playing. It's playing in the background. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Women's Empowerment Series. It's such an honor to have you, Dr. Shelli Brunswick, as you've been honored with an honorary degree. I am so happy to have you today. The Women's Empowerment Series is a series that we organize to invite women from around the world to share their story, to inspire, who are doing incredible things. So it's an honor to have you with us today, Shelli.
Well,
Welcome, my
thank you.
dear.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored to be with you. You and I have had the fortune to work together in the past on women empowerment panels for ISESCO, the Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. We're also partnered with
Mhm.
G100, which is about creating women empowerment and equality by 2030. And I know you chair the entrepreneurship wing, and I chair the space technology and
Space.
aviation wing. So it's a exciting collaboration, and I'm so excited to be joining you today for your 38th episode.
Yes, exactly. So welcome. Welcome to everyone. If you are connecting, let us know where you're connecting from. I see already some beautiful faces. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Datu from Florida, from Nepal. So let us know if you have any questions for our honorable guest today. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us about your fascinating story and your beautiful career. And you are such an inspiration to every woman.
Well, thank you so much. And again, I'm so honored to be joining you. And I hope that my story helps others to be inspired to create their journey, and then we can highlight their stories. And so, my journey is I've had three chapters. And so, my first chapter was when I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force right out of high school. My
Mhm.
second chapter of my journey is when I became an officer in the Air Force. And that's when I started my space career. And then my third chapter is where I am today. So just to tell
Mhm.
you a little bit about it, when I graduated high school, I did not have college money. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to see the world. And at that time, the
Wow.
best way to see the world was to join the military. So I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force,
Uh-huh.
and my first duty station was Turkey. So merhaba
Oh,
to anybody
amazing.
who's listening from
Marhaba, that's
Turkey.
right. We have Layla joining us. So hello,
Wonderful.
marhaba. Wow,
So,
that's so, you know what I love about, I'm going to let you talk, but this is
yeah,
fascinating how you are looking at your life as chapters. I think that's the most beautiful way of doing it. I love that. So the first chapter.
absolutely. So the first
Mm.
chapter, and then you turn the page, right? And you have to read the whole book. So some chapters are more challenging or moments, so just keep turning the
Mm.
page. But that first
Mm.
chapter was enlisting in the US Air Force and
Mhm.
getting stationed in Turkey, which was wonderful. And then from there I was stationed in Germany
Okay.
and got to sprechen Sie Deutsch. And so I got to see the world, which was one of my goals. I
Mhm.
also was able to go to school at night and earn both my bachelor's and master's degrees while I was
Wow.
enlisted. And I
Mm.
was a personnel specialist. So personnel
Mhm.
meaning HR, human relations. So I learned a
Yes.
skill. But my next assignment was in Colorado Springs, where I live
Mhm.
today. And it was an enlisted person at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And since
Wow.
I had completed both my
Amazing.
bachelor's degree and was almost done with my master's degree, I applied to become an officer in the Air Force. And I will
Mm.
tell your audience, the first time I was not selected because I do not have a traditional career for a space
Mm.
person or for an
Mhm.
officer. At that time, the Air Force was looking for STEM professionals, science,
Okay.
technology, engineering, mathematics,
Engineering,
and
math, yeah.
I have a business background. So the first time
And
I was
so at
asked,
night,
yeah,
when
go
you were
ahead.
so when you were studying at night, you majored in business as a for your
Correct.
bachelor.
Correct.
Really? How interesting, because you were in the military. What brought you to really think about majoring in business? I'll think you'll go into maybe something related to military issues. So what is it?
Well, originally I wanted to be an engineer, but I was having trouble with math, and probably like
Mm,
many of the other gender minorities and underrepresented groups, I was struggling with math and really didn't have a mentor or a coach to help me
mm,
when it came to
mm,
the engineering of math. But what
mm.
happened is when I realized that math is money and I could equate it to dollars and cents and a balance sheet and
Yeah.
accounting, then I realized that math was not hard.
No,
It's,
and you
you
were
know,
good at it. Exactly.
so it's really
Yeah,
about equating things to reality. And I think that's part of
absolutely.
education
Mm,
in today's world is that we really need to equate why people are getting an education in certain disciplines throughout
yeah.
college and how that applies to the real world. I think had somebody helped me with math, I might be an engineer today, but I'm really happy
What?
I majored in
Mm,
business and I got an MBA as well.
I know,
And now a
fascinating.
doctorate.
Congratulations. And now a doctor. That's why I told you, Dr. Shelley. This is amazing. So you did business and then, but I know your story because I heard you speak with a beautiful speech you made in graduation speech. Was it what university you had this summer? You were the keynote speaker,
So
and
my
you had
alma mater
mm,
that I went to for my
mm,
undergraduate is Colorado State
yes,
University in Pueblo,
yes,
and they invited me to
yes.
come back and be the commencement speaker. And so it was a wonderful
Mm,
experience to be on the other
yeah.
side of graduation instead of in the audience. I'm
Yes.
there
Yes.
meeting all the graduates and their parents, and they're starting their next journey and their chapters. And what does that degree mean for them? And I had the privilege because I said, I will definitely be the commencement speaker, but I want to meet with some graduating students. I want to hear their
Mm,
stories. And I was
okay.
able to weave their stories into my commencement address and talk about lessons
Oh,
learned and
I love
highlight
that.
their journey. Because at this
Yes.
point in my career, my real goal is to really highlight others and help others accomplish their
Mm,
goals and objectives,
mm.
which is what we're here to talk
Oh,
about today, empowerment. How can we help
absolutely.
others?
Exactly. And you can help others because your journey is about helping others. I mean, it's like it's embedded inside of you. It's like what brought you to really feel you want to help. Is it in your first chapter as a military, or second, or today? What is it that, it's a build up, right? It takes time and experience and wisdom. Where do you
So
draw that from?
the military, the Air Force has some core values: integrity first, service before
Mm,
self, excellence in all we do. So after 29 years in the Air Force of constantly being service before self
mm.
and being a servant leader, when I retired from the Air Force and went to work at Space Foundation, which is my third chapter, I know we're jumping around, but it'll all
That's
come
okay.
together.
It
Um,
really does.
I really have seen over the last 25 years of my journey in the space industry where it was really military or civil space. You worked for a government agency like a NASA, or you were in the military like the Air
Mhm.
Force, and you did military space applications, to where you can really see how space has been democratized, globalized, and it's commercialized. And so my goal is, let's break down barriers to allow more diversity, underrepresented groups, generational,
Mm.
all ages, all gender
Okay.
minorities, as well as
Mhm.
geographies participate now in the space industry, and by being a mentor and a coach.
Mm. Wow. And so that's what brought you to be mentorship. It's really to encourage more diversity into the space industry. I love that.
Well, and it's
Fascinating.
even it's even more than that, because it's important to bring diversity to the table, but the bigger
Mhm.
thing is seeing a lot of challenges here on Earth. I know I talk about space, but going to the moon and Mars and beyond, all
Mm.
that technology comes back to benefit us right here on Earth. Right now, we're using a platform, a communication platform that's all based on space technology.
Mhm.
Telecommunications is all because of space technology. Zoom, healthcare
Yeah.
applications,
I
fire
think
retardant
about it this way.
clothing, even
Yeah.
my favorite, which is taking a selfie. Many of your cameras have NASA imaging technology that captures that perfect photo. So it's really about
Really?
bringing that technology back to Earth
Mm.
commercializing it and making life better for all of us. And many
Mm.
of the solutions we're going to need to solve climate change and other challenges, food security, water security, um, you know, uh, empowerment and diversity. We think about the Sustainable Development Goals. We're going
That's
to
true.
need space technology here on Earth, and that also means we need to bring everyone to the table, because we need everyone, because we don't know where the next best great idea could come from. It could come from you in Morocco, or somebody in Israel, or somebody in the
Yeah.
UAE, or
Mm.
Zimbabwe, or
Or
Botswana.
anywhere. It's true.
Exactly. And
Mm.
so we need
Mm.
to open up the aperture and invite more people to the table, because we have a lot of challenges. Last week was Davos, and we saw a
Yes.
lot of talk about climate change, empowerment,
Was
um,
such.
so
Mm.
commercialization, maybe a recession. And so we really need to inspire everyone to help come up with solutions. So it's about empowering others to come into the space industry, but it's also
Mhm.
about how we can empower, like you are the chair of entrepreneurship. How do we
Yeah.
empower more
Yeah.
people to be entrepreneurs?
So yeah. Yeah, because when you go to entrepreneurs, that's the way I see it in my side of this of the the angle that about empowerment. It's really to encourage them to be creative, and that's what the science needs as well. When you're creative, you have new ideas, you innovate, you try, you experiment, you fail first time, you do the next time, and that's what we need. And the creativity is in every field. I mean, whether it is for entrepreneurship, whether it is for science, innovation, technology. What I find fascinating is the way you are, looking at, advances in the space arena as being useful because they come back to being used and commercialized. And I think that's fascinating angle really about the engineering advances, because you are absolutely right. Why is that, do you think? Do you think it's because of the investment that is made for that? It's because you attract and gather all the smartness? What is it that makes it this way and not the opposite? Not we're using it here and then we're using it in simple day-to-day matters and then it goes to the space. How does it come backward?
Well, I think the important thing to look at is a lot of what we're living on today is technology from 60 years ago. It's investments we made in the Apollo program for the United States. I talked formulated
Mm.
food, the financial system. Think about GPS,
Yes.
all our food with
Yes.
precision agriculture. So we're living
Uh-huh.
on technology that was really invested in research and development from 60 years ago. And so as we
Mm.
look to pursue going back to the moon and on to Mars and beyond, we're creating new technology. Now, the thing is, we may not know how to commercialize that technology immediately, because how we came up with fire retardant clothing was there was a fire in one of the Apollo capsules that killed all the astronauts. So
Yeah.
NASA invested in creating fire retardant materials.
Mm.
Well, then that was
Okay.
commercialized, and now all our firefighters are
They
wearing that
use
fire
them.
retardant clothing, or
Yes.
babies in their cribs, right? We've created fire
Yes.
retardant clothing. So
Mm.
something that was specifically made for government use then can be commercialized.
That's true.
And so we don't know how those investments in the space industry will benefit us on Earth. What we do know is there are thousands of patents at
Mhm.
NASA,
Mhm.
the European Space Agency, the Japanese Space Agency, that are waiting to be commercialized. So for people in
Mhm.
your audience who are like, I would love to be an entrepreneur, you can go to the NASA Technology Transfer Office. You could Google that, and you will see the patents in energy and agriculture and communications and other
Mm.
other fields, so that you could look at that commercialization of technology. You could either look to apply for that patent and commercialize it,
Mhm.
or it might give you an idea of how you could be an entrepreneur of a new technology.
That's
So
right. Yes.
a
Mm.
great place to go for ideation, if you're an entrepreneur, is the NASA Technology Transfer Office. Because again, there's thousands of patents waiting there. And there's more patents throughout the US government with the Air Force and Department of Energy. So when governments invest in this type of activity,
Mhm.
then all the dividends of all this technology that can then be
Yeah,
commercialized, and then
absolutely.
that unlocks economic growth because it
Mhm.
creates jobs, but it also benefits all our lives. One of the
Mhm.
technologies I always like to talk about is when we had the Hubble Space Telescope. So Hubble is older. Now we have the James Webb Space Telescope, but
Okay.
the
Okay.
Hubble was designed to look into space at anomalies. A company commercialized that technology to look into the human body for anomalies, and that technology is what has created mammogram technology. So, thanks to
Yes.
space technology, we have saved
Right.
millions of women's
Oh,
lives around
yes.
the world. And nobody
Mm.
would have known that when we first
No,
launched Hubble.
no, no, of
So,
course not.
sometimes you have to invest
Mm.
in technology not knowing what the exact payoff will be,
That's
and that's
true.
why R&D investment by governments, not
Mhm.
just the US government, but the Saudis have created an investment fund, the UAE, that when we invest in technology and research, may not know exactly how that will pay off in the end, but the dividends will pay off for the next generation. So when we
Absolutely.
think
For a
about
long
investing
time.
today,
Mhm.
think about your grandchildren or great grandchildren and how you're going to help them in their lives.
That's right. Thank you. We have all those beautiful comments about everything you're saying. It resonates with everyone. This is so very true. And you are so right, because we would never know. If not somebody tells you, you know, that technology was actually used in the space before it comes to the medical sphere or before it comes to anything else. Yeah. So
And
everything
another
comes down really to,
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say
please.
another woman I know, Dr. Nicole Wagner, who is Lambda Vision,
Mhm.
Lambda, she in her grad school work started looking at solving macular degeneration. So macular degeneration affects eyes, especially in older adults, and there's no
Uh-huh.
cure. So people go
Okay.
blind as they get older. She is
Mm-hmm.
working to do a lens replacement and she's
Mm-hmm.
doing the manufacturing on the International Space Station. So she's still in drug trials with the FDA, partnered with NASA and a company called
Okay.
Space Tango that helps do the manufacturing on the ISS to do these lens replacements because it's faster, more efficient to do the 3D printing on the International Space Station. But she
Mm-hmm.
is looking to solve macular degeneration that affects millions of people around the world. So again,
Okay.
when we think about space, it may not be the exact technology, but it's
Mm.
also about doing things in space. And there are other drug companies that are doing trials on the International Space Station to solve challenges here on Earth.
Mm.
Another technology that came is women suffer
Yeah.
from osteoporosis. And
Okay.
women astronauts who have gone
Yeah.
to space develop osteoporosis even faster living in space because you're
Really?
not in a weight bearing environment, you're floating
Right.
around,
Yes.
weakens your bones. And so a
Mm.
company has taken that technology, looked at it, and then created an osteoporosis treatment
Mm.
using manufacturing in space, and now has brought it
Mm.
to market. So again,
Mm.
we can look at healthcare challenges that astronauts face or that we face on Earth, and then we can look at how space can help
Mm.
us solve them. So whether it's space technology or looking at manufacturing in space, how can that help us here on Earth? And so that's a
Yeah.
whole nother area is manufacturing in space.
Yeah, it's this is fascinating. I am in love with this conversation because we often, yeah, because you know, when we think about space, we think it's just so far away. Yet everything we use in our kitchen, in our car, they came because of the investment in space technology. And that's amazing. And you're embodying that so beautifully, my dear Shelley. So, how are you going about encouraging more to come, you know, more gender equality and diversity into that arena, you know, through your work, through your mentorship? What's your mission really, or your promise to that mission?
Well, one of the things at Space Foundation is we have our Center for Innovation and Education, and that
Okay.
has three main areas. So the first area is we're open to the public. We have a facility here in Colorado Springs that's
Mhm.
open to the public. That's really about creating that space awareness. And we have student field trips. It's open to the public, and we can do virtual programming.
Oh,
Our
okay.
second component
Mhm.
is educational programs kindergarten through 12th grade. And that's
Mhm.
about we have building blocks for a leadership academy. So we have primary school, middle school, high school, and then
Mm.
teacher professional development to help teachers bring this inspiration into the classroom. Because the other thing I'll tell you is most people think space is only for astronauts and rocket scientists.
Yeah, that's what we think. Or
But
for
there's
somebody who wants to sit in his room and look at the, like the space in the
right.
evening.
But
Yeah.
there's 50 different careers or more in the space industry, and so that's
Mhm.
what we try to do with our education programs. And
Mhm.
then that third component is really adult non-accredited education, and so that's entrepreneurship
Okay,
facilitation
sure.
through our Space Commerce Institute. We have
Mm.
women empowerment programs, we have
Mm.
college student programs, professional development for early career entry, so it's really non accredited adult programs. And so we
Mm,
look at those
nice.
three main areas, and as I shared earlier, one of our partners is ISESCO, the
Mhm.
Islamic
Yes.
World Educational,
Yeah.
Scientific, and
Yeah.
Cultural Organization. We're
Yeah.
partnered with them on a couple programs. We're also partnering with the African Union on some
Yeah.
programs to bring our
Okay.
programs throughout the African continent.
Wonderful. Congratulations. That's a new one. That's very
It
nice.
is. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So
Well done.
we're really excited. We do a lot
Mm.
of programs in Colorado, and
Okay.
we are looking at partnering with other countries around the world. I've been in Puerto Rico. We're talking with Chile and Brazil, and so we bring our programs. We're a U.S. nonprofit, but we do business globally, and it's
Mhm.
really about creating access and opportunity so all citizens can be part of the space industry.
That's
And that
nice.
main component is that workforce development piece that we focus on
Love it.
with our
Mm.
Center for Innovation and
Mm.
Education.
Do
And
you
then
offer
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to ask if you offered summer programs for, high schoolers, because that's where when they decide where they want to go, because that's they don't know what career to go to, and they just need a little inspiration and a little guidance.
So we
Yeah.
do have summer programs through our Discovery Center, but we can offer our programs at any time during the year.
That's
They can be
nice.
virtual, in person. What we really like to do is teach the teachers and then have the teachers
Okay.
deliver the
Right.
programs. So we can
Mm.
provide all the content material, and then it could
Mm.
be a summer program, it could be a semester long program. We
Mm.
really work with the schools
I love
to
that.
deliver a program. So one school we're going to be working with is we've partnered with the US Embassy in the UAE, and they're
Okay.
working with the Ministry of Education to deliver
Mm.
one of our programs called the Junior Space Entrepreneurship
That's
Program
nice. Mm.
in the UAE. And that program is for high school students.
Mhm.
And it's kind of twofold. The first fold is they're like a government agency. So they could be like
Okay.
the the UAE Space Agency. And
Mhm.
they're doing a mission to Mars. And they're going to create the mission to Mars,
Mm.
all the math and science, all the research
Mm.
about going to Mars, and then safely return. And then they change, and then
Mhm.
they become a company. And now they
Mhm.
have to look at what was a challenge or something they learned on their mission to Mars that they could commercialize and bring to market. So now we teach them not only being like a government agency and doing the research and going to Mars, but now how to be an entrepreneur and think like an entrepreneur. And then they pitch that program. And so it teaches kids about the whole ecosystem, the myriad of jobs now from
Amazing.
STEM professionals and
Mhm.
astronauts and rocket scientists,
Mhm.
but also being a CEO, an investor, an entrepreneur, a
Mhm.
technician, a program manager, a policy maker.
Mhm.
It teaches them that there are all these different
That's right.
careers, and then
Mm.
they can see where they're excited. So we're always
Mhm.
happy to offer that program to
Mm.
individuals or uh, organizations that might want to sponsor it so we could deliver it in the summer and then help kids understand all the great opportunities. We can
Mm.
also support colleges and partner with universities,
Mhm.
especially in emerging space countries, so that
Mhm.
they could help their college students understand the opportunities in the space industry as well, so that those countries can start building that future workforce to
Mhm.
fill the jobs, not only for their space agency, but also their entrepreneurs.
Yes, and I love this idea about entrepreneurship, because whatever you do, any technology, it's not just one use. You can use it and repurpose it and reapply it to any other things, and that's the fascination. And that gives, which is, there is so much abundance in the world. So you have space to use. You have like the area to use it, whether in the space industry or bring it back to agriculture, bring it to water, and it opens the consciousness, because everything runs with the same logic, really. Engineering is just putting things together and solving problems, and the problem.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
with Davos just last week, we
Yeah.
talk about the sustainable development goals. And if your audience is interested in those and how space is benefiting them, they can go to the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, and there's a drop down tab that talks about the SDGs and how
Hmm.
space is helping to solve each and every one of those challenges. And so
Hmm.
UNUSA is a great place for people who are in the audience who are interested in learning more about the space industry. If
Yeah,
you want to be a
we have a lot
space
of interest.
lawyer,
Yeah.
Water for Humanity. So they have a lot of
Mhm.
projects. They also have
Mm.
a mentoring program called Space for Women. And even though
Okay.
women's in the name, it's open to men and women. And
Okay.
that's one of the organizations I volunteer my time for is UNUSA Space
Okay.
for Women.
Hmm.
Another program that does mentoring programs is WomenTech Network. And again, open to men and women. And then
Okay.
Space Generation Advisory Council. So those are just a
Mm.
couple, but there are many, many other organizations. And so
Mm.
for individuals who are excited about the space industry or learning more about it, you could go to Space Generation Advisory Council, join them. You could join SEEDS, which is another university, Students for the Exploration
Mhm.
of Space. And then that's not the full acronym.
Mhm.
It's not on the tip of my tongue, but it's called seeds.org. And then
Okay.
obviously UNUSA, you can go United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. If your country is an ISESCO member, they have wonderful
They
programs.
do.
As you know,
They do. Yeah.
Space Foundation is going to partner with
Mhm.
ISESCO on delivering some of our education programs.
Mhm.
We're hoping to do one the first part of this year and then in the second half of the year. So
Mhm.
if you're an ISESCO member, 54 member countries,
That's right.
you can talk with ISESCO about Space
Mhm.
Foundation programs and how we could bring them to your countries and
Okay.
communities. The
Mhm.
African Union, we're partnering with them on bringing our programs throughout Africa. So this is a great opportunity to create more
Mhm.
access and opportunity. I know
Mhm.
our program's about women empowerment, but I just believe in empowerment in general
I
because
I agree.
space is
Uh,
open to everyone. And so we
mm,
just need to let people know, and then we need to
mm,
help them find an access
mm,
point. And your
mm.
show is a great
Mhm.
way for people to find
It
out
is.
about these programs and
Absolutely.
then look to ISESCO, look
Mm,
to African Union, look to Space Foundation, the
mm,
UAE Space Agency, and many
mhm.
others. And we can together as partners create more access and opportunity.
Always. And when we partner, the ripple effect is much bigger. And I love your approach. Congratulations for all what you're doing. I mean, like for the space. And we have a lot of comments. I'm not reading all of them, but Cynthia was asking whether for adults, do you have programs that could help change careers if they want to go into the space industry?
Absolutely.
Don't know
You
if
can
you
go
would
to
like
our
to answer
space
that one.
Absolutely. You could go to our spacefoundation.org website, and we do have webinars that you can take. They cost, you have to pay. You could just swipe your credit card, take
Mhm.
them. And you could take some of those webinars because they help you transition into the space industry. But there is a
Mm.
5-step workforce development roadmap that I recommend to everybody. The first one is awareness, which
Mhm.
we've done today. You're now on this webinar, you're learning about all the great opportunities. So,
Mhm.
building awareness. The next
Yeah,
step is access. You have to have an
that's right.
access point. So you could
Building
go
it.
to the NASA Tech Transfer
Mhm.
Office, you could reach out to
Mm.
ISESCO, the African Union, the UAE Space Agency, Space Foundation to find an access point. Then you need training. And that training could be formal or informal.
Mhm.
I post a lot of free things, webinars
Mm.
on my LinkedIn. So you could follow Shelli Brunswick on LinkedIn. You will
That's
find out
right.
about jobs,
Mhm.
recommended books, recommended
Mm.
webinars. I was promoting this webinar yesterday, so you could learn about it. The fourth is join organizations that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Join
Mm.
organizations with like minded people. Space Generation Advisory
Yes.
Council, UNUSA, Women Tech
Mm.
Network, Seeds. And then the fifth
Mm.
is find a mentor. So
Mm.
those 5 steps again are
Mm.
awareness, access, training, connecting, and mentoring. So that's a 5-step workforce development roadmap to help anybody find their way, whether it's into the space industry or any other industry.
I love that. This is so clear, so easy. So if you want to just make a decision, I think it's all about making the decision. If you make the decision to change career, to go into the space industry, to go into entrepreneurship, to go into anything that really appeals to you and make you feel that this is what you love doing, just do it. It starts with making the decision and taking this 5 steps. I love it. So clear. So clear.
Well, and you're a wonderful executive coach as well. And so, the big thing I tell people it's about passion, perseverance, and patience. So it's
Absolutely.
passion and excitement that you want to do it. And then it's perseverance that you
Mhm.
have to, be disciplined and do a little bit every day.
Discipline.
Some days
Yeah.
are more than others. And it's
Mm.
about patience with
Mm.
the system and the process as well as yourself.
Absolutely.
Transitioning from a different industry in the space industry could take a couple years. You have
Oh,
to
it
start
does.
building those
Oh, it
relationships. You have to start finding your way into it. So
Mm.
these things won't happen overnight. So create a plan, and Dr. Hynd is an amazing coach to create a plan,
That's
how
right.
you're going to get there, what are
Exactly.
some milestones, and how can you work on it? Maybe not day to day. You do little things daily, but over time,
It
each
builds up.
month.
It
Yes, it
builds up.
builds up. And then
Yeah.
you say, where will I be in a year from now? When Dr. Hynd and I do this podcast next year, where will we be and where will you be? And what are your goals? And then you just start working towards those goals.
I love that. And then let's have that. Let's have another in a year from now, and let's plan for something even bigger in terms of impact we realize to do, because that's
All
what it
right.
takes. It takes focus. It takes truly believing. I mean, in my approach and my work, it's really believing in yourself, in your dream, in your objective, and then acting on it, taking actions, plan it, strategy, discipline yourself, perseverance, doing the work, and then you lead yourself through that, through your plan, through you navigate through it with grace,
Yeah.
because when you choose what you love, then you can enjoy every step, and it's the journey that is the most important. Yeah.
And I know some people what they do. So I write a lot. So I actually have a board where I put sticky notes with ideas
Okay.
that I want to write. But I know other people who do a dream board. And I'm sure you know
That's
about that,
right.
Dr. Hynd.
Vision
And
board. Yeah.
a vision board, find a wall, get some sticky notes, and
Yeah.
start laying out January, February, March, April, and your
Ex-
vision. Where do
mhm.
you want to be? And then each month, just slowly work towards it. And when you can see it, you can be it, and you'll know where you are as well. And it keeps it front and center. So I think a
Mhm.
vision board or a dream board is really important as you're looking to want to make a transition, whether it's into the space industry, a
Or what
new
anything else.
career,
Mm.
learning a new skill. There's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a beautiful advice. Absolutely. Well said. This is amazing. I love this conversation. We are definitely doing a part two. We can do it even before next year so that we can check how we did it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
that sounds great.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for everyone. We had so many beautiful comments. Everybody's loving you, Shelli. Thank you very much. I'm going to drop the link so that they all know how to follow you to get more information. And if they have any questions, you can still send us the questions. Just hashtag replay, and we will absolutely answer. Thank you for your time, for honoring us today, Shelli.
Absolutely.
And
And
I'll
I
see
look
you
forward to
soon.
seeing
Bye,
all of
everyone.
you. See you around the galaxy.
Mhm. Yes.